Welcome back to Storytime with Sean. We've all heard of carjackings, but wheelchair jackings? This one is new. Story 1 from the Entitled People subreddit is titled, "A woman in a supermarket tried to eject me from and take my wheelchair." So there I, 39N, was in a rural Shaw's. For those not in an area with a Shaw's, it's a standard supermarket with a club that makes things cheaper, which is their way of hiding their markup. Stuff is just cheaper a few miles down the road. Unfortunately, there were a few things I could only get there, like my favorite flavor of caffeine and food for the dogs. I was using my power chair, which back then I needed more often. It's an Eagle HD foldable deal, and it works great. I had been hit pretty hard post-virus and was very sedentary at that point in my life, along with a pre-existing joint problem. So I'm leaning forward to get a flat of Monster and stick it under my seat on the rack when a woman pushes on my back and says, "I need that." "You don't, you're younger." As I'm belted in, nothing happened. It was only luck that I was belted in. Usually I would have undone it to pick up something heavy. "You can't use personal stuff in supermarkets. Give me the chair." She started shaking it with every statement, so at that point, I just hit maximum speed on my power chair and took off, ripping it out of her hands. It was either let go or be dragged on her face because she clearly wasn't super steady and needed a scooter herself. And we're off on the dumbest chase in creation because supermarket scooters go slower than any other mobility device. I buzzed over to the service desk and cut in line and said, "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, but there's a woman following me trying to push me out of my chair and take it." And from behind me they can hear, "Get back here!" and the most wheezy buzz of the slow scooter. In the moment, it was really enraging that she was so entitled and frustrating that I just wanted to get my dog food and leave. But in memory, it's the funniest thing I'd ever seen. They let me into the little back office area, and they and the whole line of people waiting just sort of watched as she came over. And it took so long. The scooter was so slow, and she's yelling about how I don't need the chair and how she should get it because she's older and more disabled. It takes a full 20 seconds for her to get from one end of the store to the other, and everyone is just staring as she rides full of glory at 0.00001 miles per hour with her face red and her glasses hanging off one ear. So she finally gets to the desk and they calmly explain that the wheelchair isn't store property, and if she tries to steal it from another customer, they'll have to call the police. She starts shouting at the employees that she knows full well you can't bring personal equipment into the supermarket, so they're lying. And the other woman behind the counter says with a bit more attitude, "Lady, why do you think we care if you bring a wheelchair into the supermarket?" At this point, I think something either clicked or she just realized that an entire line of people were staring at her, and not kindly. She suddenly asked where to find the artichokes. I almost coughed on my own spit. The worker just stared back and pointed back where the woman had come and said, "Produce?" And the woman left. I admit, for the rest of my visit, I avoided any aisle she was in because I didn't want her close enough to grab me again. Now, I can laugh about it for the absurdist comedy moment it was. In retrospect, I feel there's a reason here. Like her husband told her they shouldn't buy a thing like I had because they're not allowed to be in the supermarket. That's the best answer I can come up with for that wild nonsense. Wherever you are, crazy lady, I hope you bought your own Eagle HD. So many questions here. 1, what was she gonna do if she stole the chair? Just take it home and act like it was always hers? Most wheelchairs are custom made. It probably wouldn't have fit her or met her needs. And even if she has it, how's she gonna explain, "Oh, I just took it from a guy in the supermarket. No big deal, I'm an old lady." People like this are always the kind of people that never want to help anyone do anything, but when they need somebody to help them do something, oh no, the world must help me now because I am in such a bad place. Won't somebody please think of me? And as soon as they mention the cops, she's just like, whoopsie doodle, I'll go find the artichokes now. I do have to admit, it would have been hilarious to watch a slow speed chase in a supermarket because every person who has an electric wheelchair that I know, that old lady ain't catching them. On to story 2. This one is from Malicious Compliance. It's titled, You Want Me to Wait Until the Last Minute to Book My Hotel? Deal. I work remotely for a small company, 100 employees, and based on my contract, I have to return to the office for a week 4 times a year. The last time I went back up was in November. In the contract, it's laid out that my employer pays 100% of hotel and gas and airfare. Normally, this is an extremely uneventful routine. It's in a mid-size, Midwestern city with not much to do. It is what it is. A few months before I went back up, we had our financial audit, and one thing that was pointed out to our accounting department was a lack of controls on purchasing. The way it used to be was every manager supervisor had a company credit card with a $1,500 balance, and as long as we stayed under that limit, we didn't have to do any kind of purchase orders. After our audit, my accounting team decided to make purchase orders 100% of their focus. Going forward, it doesn't matter what it was or what the situation was. If you didn't have an approved purchase order, you could not make the transaction. All this happened in early October as I was trying to book my hotel for my on-site week in November. Normally, I have the freedom in choosing when I go on site, but I was requested to go that specific week by my CEO and CFO as we were launching some strategic planning and they wanted me on site. So I put the purchase order in for the hotel and I didn't hear anything back. I forgot about it for a couple weeks, then remember mid-October that I still didn't have a hotel room booked. When I initially made the request, it was about $550 for 4 nights. Looking again in mid-October, now it was up to $700 for 4 nights. I look around and notice that the same week I'm supposed to go up, there's a concert in the same city followed by a big college sporting event in that town. I send an email to my accounting folks that I need to book a hotel, rates are going up, room availability is going down, yada yada yada. I get a tersely worded email back saying that everyone has different priorities and my purchase order will be addressed once all the ones before it are done. So I sit back and wait and keep checking every other day and keep seeing prices go up. I send a weekly email asking if it's approved yet and I keep getting absolute silence back. Finally, a week before, I email my accounting team with the CFO included saying if I don't book a room that day, there won't be any left and I won't be able to make it up for the strategic planning work. About 30 minutes later, I get back an email that says, word for word, you are approved to reserve a hotel room for 4 nights. Cool. I book it. That $550 room is now $1,200. I book it and move on with my life and don't think any of it. Last week, I got around to uploading my credit card receipts and submitted my expense report, which included that $1,200 hotel stay. I got a call from my CFO just exploding on me, furious about where the heck did I stay that cost that much and what was I thinking. I very calmly forwarded the original purchase order and all the emails I sent saying that prices were rising. I had dead silence on the phone as he read through the email chains and just said, for F's sake, then hung up. At the end of the day, all supervisors got an email that the purchase order system was being shut down until they could figure out how to manage it better. If it isn't yet another time of somebody trying to make something more efficient that's already working. And I bet they spent a whole bunch of money on that new accounting system just to go back to the way things used to be. Good on OP for keeping all those records. Don't you love it when a plan comes together? So in story 1, we got to witness Fast and Furious Wheelchair Supermarket Edition. And then in story 2, we had yet another time of somebody who messed around and found out. I hope you had fun listening to these stories as much as I did reading them. I hope you like, share, and subscribe so these videos can continue growing. Tell more people about us, and please leave some comments in the comments section. I like talking to you. We'll see you next time at Storytime with Sean. Have a good one.